A wave of unhappiness swept across Mexico, casting a shadow over the nation's cities and towns. The air was thick with anticipation, as if everyone knew something significant was about to happen. For weeks, frustration had been building, and on this day, it finally erupted. In city after city, thousands poured into the streets, their voices rising in unison. The crowds were so large that entire avenues were blocked, and the sound of chanting echoed off the buildings. People of all ages and backgrounds came together, united by a shared sense of urgency and hope for change. From the bustling heart of Mexico City to the border city of Tijuana and the historic streets of Oaxaca, the protests spread like wildfire. In each place, people held up signs and banners demanding an end to corruption and violence. The message was clear: the government's promises were not enough, and the people wanted real action. Demonstrations erupted in over 50 cities, a powerful sign of just how widespread the frustration had become. President Claudia Sheinbaum's new government faced its first true test, as citizens made it clear they would not accept empty words or half measures. Protesters demanded real answers to the problems that haunted their daily lives: rampant crime, extortion, and the unchecked power of criminal groups. Many shared stories of being forced to pay for protection or living in fear of violence, their anger fueling the movement. Families marched side by side with students and workers, their conversations filled with worry about the future. Parents spoke of wanting a safer world for their children, while young people demanded opportunities and justice. The protests became a space for people to share their pain, but also their dreams for a better Mexico. As protest leaders addressed the crowds, their words struck a chord. The demonstrations marked a breaking point, a collective demand for safety, fairness, and accountability. The energy in the streets was electric, and hope mingled with anger as people called for change. The sheer size and diversity of the movement sent a powerful message to those in power. People from all walks of life, young and old, rich and poor, stood shoulder to shoulder, showing that the desire for justice crossed every boundary. It was more than just a protest. It was a statement that Mexicans are united, vigilant, and determined to hold their leaders accountable. Organized groups kept watch on government buildings, making it clear that the people would not be ignored. November 15th became a turning point in Mexico's ongoing fight for peace and fairness. As night fell, people reflected on the day's events, knowing that their voices had been heard, and that the struggle for a better future was far from over. President Claudia Sheinbaum, Mexico's first female president, started her job in October 2024. A scientist and a former mayor of Mexico City, she was seen as continuing the popular policies of López Obrador. Even with high approval and strong political support, Sheinbaum now faces a test of her leadership as protests led by citizens challenge her government. The groups against her are weak, making these protests a new and important way for people to show they disagree. How she handles this problem will show what kind of president she is, and if she can keep her promise of a safer, fairer Mexico. The protests come from years of constant violence and corruption. Many feel the government has given up parts of the country to drug cartels, leaving people in constant fear. Corruption helps organized crime grow, making people lose trust in public offices and feel like there's no hope. Forcing people to pay money for protection hurts local businesses, making owners pay criminal groups just to stay open. The money and emotional cost is huge. People feel left alone by those who are supposed to protect them. Protesters demand basic rights, safety, fairness, and a government that works. They want the law to apply to everyone, not just those in power. Years of pain and frustration have finally exploded into people acting together. The protests were powerful and impossible to ignore, not just because of their size, but because they brought together people from every walk of life. In the streets, you could see students, parents, workers, and artists, all united by a shared sense of urgency and hope for change. These demonstrations erupted in cities and towns across the entire country, from the bustling heart of Mexico City to the smallest rural communities. The movement was not limited to one place or one group. It was truly national in scope. It was Generation Z Mexico that first sparked the movement, using their energy and creativity to inspire others. But soon, people of all ages and backgrounds joined in, marching together in over 50 cities. From the northern border in Tijuana to the southern city of Oaxaca, the call for justice echoed everywhere. The sense of frustration and longing for change was shared by everyone, regardless of where they came from or how old they were. Social media played a crucial role, allowing people to organize quickly, share information, and build solidarity in ways that had never been possible before. This new form of digital activism caught political experts off guard. As they watched the movement grow faster and larger than anyone had predicted, protesters proudly waved the Mexican flag, a symbol of unity and national pride, alongside the pirate skull from the anime One Piece, showing how pop culture and national identity could come together in a single cause. By using these symbols, young people in Mexico connected their struggle to global movements, showing solidarity with youth-led protests around the world. Banners carried the names and faces of those lost to violence, making the protests deeply personal and reminding everyone of the real human cost behind the movement. The movement brought together doctors, teachers, actors, and countless others, each person marching not just for themselves, but for their families, their communities, and their country. Older generations marched arm in arm with the young, their faces showing both anger at injustice and hope for a better future. Together, their voices formed a powerful chorus that could no longer be dismissed as just a small group. The nation was speaking, and the world was watching. The immediate reason for the protests was the killing of Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodriguez, mayor of Uruapan, Michoacán, on November 1, 2025. Manzo's public stand against cartels made him a hero and a target. His murder shocked the whole country, showing that the government couldn't protect even its bravest officials. Protesters honored Manzo as a hero who died for a cause, shouting his name and demanding fairness. His death changed general anger into a clear, strong demand for change. While most protests across the country remained peaceful, the demonstration in Mexico City quickly spiraled out of control, marking a turning point in the day's events. What began as a passionate but orderly gathering soon escalated as tensions simmered beneath the surface. A group of masked protesters, determined to make their voices heard, stormed the National Palace. They tore down metal barricades and defaced historic government buildings, sending a clear message of defiance to the authorities and the nation. Riot police, equipped with shields and batons, responded with overwhelming force. The confrontation quickly turned violent, with clouds of tear gas filling the air and both sides suffering injuries. The city center became a battleground, echoing with shouts, sirens, and the sound of chaos. As the violence unfolded, dramatic videos captured by bystanders and journalists flooded social media. These raw, unfiltered clips showed just how rapidly a peaceful protest could descend into chaos, shocking viewers across the country and around the world. The aftermath was grim. Over 100 police officers and at least 20 civilians were injured in the clashes, with dozens of demonstrators arrested. Medics rushed to help the wounded, while police worked to restore order amid the confusion. Journalists covering the protests were not spared from the violence. Several reporters were attacked or harassed, raising serious concerns about the safety of the press and the future of free expression in such turbulent times. The unrest was not limited to the capital. Similar violent clashes erupted in Guadalajara and other major cities, as anger and frustration spread like wildfire, drawing in more people and intensifying the nationwide crisis. The violence dominated front-page headlines, with images of angry protesters and battered police officers highlighting the depth of public outrage and the growing divide between citizens and the government. The day's events made it clear, frustration and anger can boil over in an instant, turning city streets into arenas of confrontation and forcing the nation to confront its deepest divisions. The government said the protests were a paid, politically planned campaign. Officials claimed they had proof of a $5 million digital plan, using computer programs and fake accounts to make the disagreement seem bigger. President Sheinbaum accused opposition parties and foreign groups of controlling the movement. This story was meant to make the protesters seem less important and to change the focus from their complaints. The result, a country divided, with trust breaking down between the government and its people. Protesters' demands are clear: safety, fairness, and an end to people getting away with crimes. Many, like actor Rodrigo Santana, are calling for a change in leadership, showing deep disappointment. They want big changes to the system, fairness for everyone, not just those in power. Banners and chants demand accountability and real investigations into corruption and crime. Personal stories, like Rosa Maria Avila's, show the strong feelings behind the protests: sadness, bravery, and hope. Gen Z leads the call for a future where they can live and work without fear. The movement is about staying alive, having dignity, and the right to a normal life. Their combined demand: a peaceful, fair Mexico. The November 2025 protests put Mexico at a turning point. A popular president faces an organized, angry group of citizens demanding real change. Movements led by young people and driven by social media now challenge traditional political power. This shows a shift towards opposition that is spread out and hard to predict. The protests are like what's happening in other parts of the world, connecting Mexico's fight to a bigger struggle for fairness. How the government responds will affect Mexico's reputation and stability. Real progress needs talking, action, and trust in the law being brought back. The path chosen now will decide Mexico's peace and future for many years to come.